A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. The movie opens up with a quote by Edgar Allan Poe that really sets the mood and tone for the rest of the film. We then hear the rocking sounds of Dokken with the song Into the Fire playing. Into the fire, I've fallen. Into the fire. And this is where we see Kristen, played by the one and only Patricia Arquette. And she's fighting sleep to get in some good quality arts and crafts time when her mom comes busting in the room to tell her to go the fuck to sleep.
Now get to sleep.
But trust me, sleep is the last place she wants to be. As Kristen is nodding off to sleep, we get a glimpse of her art project. Oh shit! It's Freddy's house! When Kristen wakes up, her bed is in the middle of the street, and that's when she realizes that she's not in motherfucking Kansas anymore. She notices a creepy little girl on a trike in the doorway.
I gotta go now.
Wait, little girl, don't go in there!
And then she follows her into the house for some reason. She sees the creepy little girl once again. The furnace then catches aflame, and that can mean only one fucking thing.
Freddy's home.
She then picks up the little girl and hightails it the fuck out of there. All the while being chased in the shadows by the one and only Freddy Krueger. Shit, that was close. Then Kristen finds some of the old Elm Street kids just hanging out. Then if that wasn't enough, Kristen then wakes up in her bed. It was all just a nightmare, right? Now that it looks like Kristen is suicidal, her mom ships her ass off to Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital. We see a young Lawrence Fishburne as Max the orderly. And this is where we meet Dr. Neil Gordon, played by Craig Wasson. Oh, and we also meet this bitch.
If he continues having these outbursts, I'll have to have him isolated permanently.
Cut to Kristen, and she just really doesn't want to be here.
Back off, Max.
She sure is giving him hell when the iconic Scream Queen herself, Heather Langenkamp, or better known as Nancy, comes in because she recognizes the lullaby that Kristen is chanting.
9, 10, never, never sleep again.
Nancy has come to help because she believes that she may be the only one who can. We discover that all the kids suffer from sleep disorders.
They seem to share a group delusion, a boogeyman, for lack of a better word. They're so traumatized that they'll do almost anything not to sleep.
Anything?
After Nancy walks away from their little talk, the doctor notices a mysterious nun standing in the distance, just staring at him. The fuck? Max then shows Nancy around the hills.
Philip, this is Nancy. Hi. Welcome to the Snake Pit.
This is Philip.
A sleepwalk. Perfectly normal event that our illustrious staff loves to theorize about endlessly.
And he has a thing for making puppets.
They really ought to be carved out of wood, but they won't let me have a knife. I might, you know.
And we also meet the lovable Kincaid.
He gets himself thrown in a quiet room so often that you probably won't see a whole lot of him. Ain't that right, Cool Breeze?
I do it so I don't have to look at your ugly face all the time.
We then meet the mute Joey, and he's just got a thing for hot, sexy nurses, but who can blame him? Nancy goes to Kristen's house to maybe get some answers, but Kristen's mom thinks it's all just a stunt for attention. Nancy then goes up to Kristen's room to investigate when she finds one oddly familiar, spooky-looking dollhouse. She immediately knows who's behind all this shit. Earlier, upon parting ways, Nancy drops some meds, and the doctor is curious as to what kind of medication it was and does a little research. Kristen's first night at Weston Hills. She falls asleep, and a ghost trike just comes rolling in. And then it fucking melts. Okay, she's definitely dreaming. Fuck! And before she notices it, she's right back in the evil house. The floorboards begin to rumble and move like something's underneath. And then the walls break away, and out of nowhere, a giant snake-like creature comes bursting out from underneath the floorboards and attempts to gobble up poor old Kristen. For some reason, she yells out for Nancy, and she hears her somehow and gets pulled right into Kristen's nightmare. In an attempt to save Kristen from the jaws of the snake-like beast, she picks up a shard of broken glass and jams it right into his motherfucking eyeball. This is when Nancy sees a familiar face.
Oh my God.
She then wakes up and she's got a cut on her hand. Freaky. Cut to the next day where Nancy comes to fill Kristen in on the evil house in her dreams.
I used to live in this house.
That's just a house I dream about.
Then we get a little backstory on Kristen here.
When I was a little girl, like 4 or 5, if I had a nightmare, I'd always bring my dad in.
Nancy then confirms that the Nightmare Man is definitely real.
Man of my dreams. He's real, isn't he?
He's real.
This is where we actually meet Miss Sims and the rest of the kids. There's Will, the nerdy guy in the wheelchair, recovering ex-drug addict Taryn, and Jennifer, who dreams of being a television star. And they're having a discussion on their shared nightmares.
The fact that we all dreamt about this guy before we ever met doesn't seem to impress anybody.
That's right.
It's lights out, where we see that Will and Joey have a strategy to stay awake.
Just remember, keep your eyes open, and one whimper, and you wake me up.
Cut to a diner where Nancy gives us a little exposition on what became of her folks.
My mother passed away. She died in her sleep. My father and I, well, things just seemed to fall apart after that.
She then tells the doc that the kids are actually in grave danger.
What if I told you that, your patients are in real physical danger from their dreams?
Back at the hospital, everyone is fast asleep when something decides to go bump in the night. Freddy then literally grows up, slices Philip's arms and legs open, pulling out his fucking veins and turning him into a motherfucking human marionette. Freddy then guides poor Phil to a high ledge, cuts his veins, and Phil goes toppling down to a brutal death. It's the next day, and the group is talking about Philip's tragic death.
He wasn't strong enough, so he got wasted. That's all.
That's all? Is that what you think?
He couldn't hack it, so he got nailed. Period.
Kristen then tells them what the so-called boogeyman's plan is.
Just turn us against each other so we'll be weak. Easy prey.
Horse shit.
No, she's right.
Max finds Jennifer catching up on some TV time.
Okay. But I never saw you.
Thanks, Max.
Later on, she falls asleep. Of course she does.
And that's what you think.
When she gets up to go investigate, we get one of the most iconic kills and Freddy Krueger catchphrases of the entire franchise. At the funeral, the doctor comes face to face with the mysterious nun woman.
Only one thing can save the children. The unquiet spirit must be laid to rest.
Nancy feels it's time to finally fill the doctor in on the truth about what's really fucking going on here.
His name was Freddy Krueger. He was a child murderer before he died. And after he died, he became something worse.
This is also where Nancy tells him why Freddy is even after them all in the first place.
Your parents, my parents, they burned him alive. And now we're paying for their sins. You are the last of the Elm Street children.
We then find out what Kristen's role is in this fucking nightmare and why she's so important.
So what we do about this creep?
Kristen is the key. She has a very special talent, a gift.
This is where the kids find out that they have dream powers.
All of you have this inner strength. Some special power that you've had in your most wonderful dreams.
They all go into a group hypnosis, but it seems that it didn't work. Well, until this happens.
Promise I'll...
We're here.
We're here. We're in a dream.
The kids then show off all their badass dream powers.
In my dreams, I am the Wizard Master.
In my dreams, I'm beautiful. And bad.
We cut to Joey where he's being seduced by the sexy nurse from earlier.
I know this sounds crazy, but I make up excuses to come into the ward every day just to see you. You're so cute.
Turns out, she's not a sexy nurse at all, but none other than that no-good-for-nothing Freddy Krueger.
What's wrong, Joey? Feeling tongue-tied?
Damn it, Joey! If you weren't off chasing some tail, you wouldn't be in this situation, you schmuck! Just as the group is pretty much about to meet their demise, and all the walls are literally closing in, Dr. Sims comes in and wakes everyone up. Well, everyone except for Joey, who is in a coma now. That's great. Sims isn't having that shit, so she fires the doctor. As he's walking out to his car, he sees a mysterious nun woman at the top of a tower. And this is where she gives us the origin story of old Freddy Krueger.
Girl on the staff was accidentally locked in here. When they found her, she was barely alive and with child. That girl was Amanda Krueger. Her child, Freddy.
She then tells the doctor how to stop Freddy and to purge the evil for fucking good.
You must find the remains and bury him in hallowed ground.
Nancy and the doctor end up at a bar where we see the legendary John Saxon reprising his iconic role as Nancy's father. And Nancy's here to fill him in on the current Freddy Krueger situation.
I need your help, Dad. Krueger's back.
But dear old Dad here is already half cut and thinks she's fucking losing it when the doctor steps in to do a little persuasion of his own.
Now listen to me. I don't know if you care whether Nancy lives or dies, but I do. You and I are going on a little scavenger hunt.
Nancy arrives back at the hospital to assemble the Dream Warriors.
This is as dangerous as it gets. If you die in this dream, it's for real.
Let's go kick the motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland.
Yeah! They meet up with Kristen in the Dream World, which pretty much instantly turns into Nightmare World. And all of a sudden, Kristen is back in her room, right in the middle of arts and crafts time again. Wait a minute. So, was it all a dream?
I said, where's the fucking servant? You should listen to your mother.
Well, never mind. She's definitely still in a nightmare world. Kristen then barely escapes the claws of Krueger. She jumps out of a window, but because this is a nightmare, it just leads right back into the house again. Ain't that a bitch? We cut to Taryn, who's in her own personal back alley hell.
Welcome home, Taryn.
Look familiar.
Okay, asshole. Let's dance.
It looks like she's getting the best of the dream demon when she stops for some reason, and we get yet another iconic Freddy Krueger line.
Let's get high.
And you can guess what comes next. Cut to Will, who's just walking down a dark hallway all by himself when he notices a demonic wheelchair at the end of it. Will then transforms into the Wizard Master and blows the demonic torture chair the fuck up. But it doesn't matter because Freddy just murders him.
I'm sorry, kid. I don't believe in fairy tales.
Nancy, Kristen, and Kincaid are the only ones left when they notice a door that leads into Freddy's boiler room.
Are you ready?
You snuffed the sucker.
Nancy's dad and the doctor arrive at a junkyard where it turns out that Freddy's bones are stashed away in an old Cadillac. So now, they got some work to do. Back at Freddy's lair, we see Joey, who seems to be a bit tongue-tied.
Joey, look, all the little piggies come home.
Let him go, Krueger!
It's the final showdown, and Freddy has him cornered. When Nancy shows up, she stabs him through the stomach. But he's a lot stronger this go-around, so it's gonna take a little more than that pussy-ass shit. Freddy then rips his shirt open, revealing the souls of the children trapped within his melted torso. And just as he's about to sock it to Kincaid, he vanishes? I guess he could sense his bones being tampered with back at the junkyard, so we cut back over there and Freddy's bones come alive and murder Nancy's father. So much for dear old dad, I guess. Skeleton Freddy then knocks the doc into the grave and basically just throws a bit of dirt on him and lets out a battle cry, and he's out. We then cut to a hall of mirrors back in Nightmare Land, where Freddy shows up like some kind of fucking end boss in a video game. He starts to pull Nancy and the others into the mirrors when Joey finally decides to speak up. Well, shit. I guess he found his dream power.
You found your dream power, man.
Nancy's father shows up as a dream ghost, basically to inform her of his recent passing.
Crossed over, princess.
They did it. It's over, right? Freddy's about to cancel Kristen's fucking contract when Nancy comes back with one final stab. Over at the junkyard, the doctor is finally laying Freddy's old bones to rest. Cut back to Dreamland, and Freddy isn't looking so hot. They did it. Freddy's fucking dead. Only thing is, Nancy also died trying to stop him. Fuck. Cut to Nancy's funeral, where the doctor sees a nun. He goes to run over there and she's fucking gone. And he looks down, he sees a gravestone that reads Amanda Krueger, heavily implying that the mysterious nun lady was in fact Freddy's fucking mother. We then cut to later on that night, where we see the doctor catching some well-deserved Z's, and the camera pans over to the dresser, where we see Kristen's diorama of the Krueger house light up. And that's the end of the film. Classic. I definitely highly recommend you guys check out this film. The performance by Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger definitely stands out a lot in this movie compared to the two past films, because in the first one he was more of like a quiet, killer, and like he would say things, but he had more of like a whispery, like scary tone. And then in the second one, he kind of started to crack a little bit more jokes, but he was still really fucking scary. And in this one, he's scary too, but he's a lot more in the forefront of the film and more of a main character than just like a background killer. This is definitely where the franchise started to kind of drift and go into a different direction with the character of Freddy Krueger. The first film and this one are regarded as the two best in the franchise. The soundtrack for the movie is really fucking awesome. They have a lot of really good songs, especially Into the Fire and Dream Warriors. And also the makeup effects for Freddy Krueger, like he looks so good, and like the part whenever he opens his chest and you can see all the souls and the kids trapped beneath, you know, the makeup effects for it were just amazing. Also the visual effects, like the stop motion with the puppet, the Freddy puppet, and also they had a lot of stop motion with the Freddy Krueger skeleton at the end. All around a really great 80s horror flick that I definitely highly recommend anybody who's a horror movie fanatic should definitely consider watching, because this is a classic for sure. What else could I really say but Scott 86, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Go check that shit out, bitch. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Monster Mash.